Good afternoon. I'm Johanna White, your Instruction and OER librarian. This afternoon, I'd like to introduce you to using BRCC ebooks in order to increase affordable learning for your students. So what is affordable learning? It happens to be a nationwide movement that has many actors in it. However, the U.S. Department of Education, the Louisiana Department of Education, and Lewis Louisiana Library Network are the main movers in our state. It's a move to drive down cost and increase equity in terms of access to educational materials. So you might know this in contrast to open educational resources, but AER instead of OER are in fact another piece of the puzzle in terms of lowering cost materials, lowering barriers, and creating more equity in access to education. You might also be aware as faculty that the average cost of 2 semesters of textbooks is roughly $1,200 a year. Our students are under some pain in order to pay for these things. You can't imagine how popular the book voucher program is at the BRCC bookstore. And of course, you should keep in mind that if you are looking for course materials, OER is preferable, but AER is a good intermediary step in terms of bringing down the course of cost materials for any of your courses. The standard definition is a course material, the standard definition is a class course cost of $29 or under. So one of the reasons that drives OER and AER is what you already know. The many cases that you no doubt have seen of otherwise bright students who fall behind and lead to failure. You identify a student early on in a course who's bright, who's interested. Maybe they do well in quizzes. Maybe they ask lots of questions, but after a week or two, they start falling behind and their grades fall off a cliff. And you think, I wonder what's going on with that student. It may be that their financial aid hasn't come in. It may be that they're struggling to pay for course materials. It may be that they're trying to beg or borrow from friends, from previous classmates in order to find course materials, and they're falling behind week by week on reading material and quizzes, which of course leads to low test grades. Ultimately, it can lead to withdrawal from a course or a failure to persist in their coursework, which affects all of us in terms of persistence and completion of degrees. So one of the things that you can do as a faculty member is try to combat the high cost of course materials. So here's how you can subvert the publisher paradigm. You can use free to you and free to our students ebooks that the library already has in its collection. So this counts as an affordable learning resource because the student is not paying for it and you're not having to modify it in any means. The BRCC library has over 80,000 electronic books in its collection, primarily housed in 2 different databases. Each and every one of them can be permalinked. You can lead to the whole title, or in some cases, you can lead to individual chapters within a title. You will find excellent quality scholarly material on a wide variety of subjects. What you will not find are ebook versions of your chosen textbooks. Publishers are greedy and are not going to let go of ebook versions of their popular textbooks because they're such cash cows. If they were to do that, then literally hundreds of thousands of people could use the same link if it was an unlimited all-access link. So unfortunately, those are still very difficult to find. Now, let's look at how to find an ebook and permalink out into your Canvas. So it's not so difficult, but here we go. We're going to open up the library's homepage here. And once you're on that library's homepage, what I'm going to recommend is that you go in and do a catalog search. Like I said, there are 2 different databases that offer all of these ebooks. And in order to avoid going into the databases page and doing 2 different searches in 2 different databases, the catalog search is actually a unified search for both all print books that the library owns and all electronic books that we have access to. In order to do this search, you would need to come up here right by this drop-down menu that has everything. This actually stands in for what you are searching, the pool of information you're searching. So this would be, in fact, BRCC Library Search is, in fact, everything that's in print housed in the library. This is all of the 60 plus Ebsco databases that we have. That's the reserved collection, but you want to go ahead and scroll down to electronic books only so that you can cut out the riffraff and not be distracted by other items, say print books that pop up on the same topic. So let's say, for example, and you can actually search if you have a particular item in mind, you can search for it. But let's say I'm going to search within a subject area looking for supplemental materials that I could add to my course. So using the all field search would be recommended. Now let's say I am a psychology professor and I work in developmental psychology. It's the next course that I am going to offer. So I'm looking for some materials that will fit into my particular course. I'm just going to do a general search. I don't have an extra special topic in mind. And I'll find out that there are in fact over 169 different results, and these are all ebooks. So as you are scrolling down through the catalog records that are shown to you, a couple of things. So for example, if we were going to look at number 1, key concepts in developmental psychology, when something says it's an electronic resource, that means it's an ebook or an e-journal. So this is your basic record, but it does give me my publication date. If I want to get directly into the item, I would click on the link, and each and every one of these records has a hot link there on line 2 for electronic access. But being a librarian, I would like to show you just a little bit of that full record. So if you want more information about the title before you go searching through it, you can get part of the full record here. And what I'm actually looking for here is that table of contents. Yep, so that's going to give me some idea of what's going on with it. Let's go ahead and click into the item. It's going to ask you if you haven't logged into a database lately to authenticate. The same is true for a student who clicks on the link that you use. And here we are at key concepts in developmental psychology. So here we are on the left-hand side, you have that contents setting. Everything that's hot linked will actually jump me into that particular piece. So let's say I've gone ahead and scanned my particular contents, and I want to jump into the section on individuality. If I click on that link, it's actually going to bring me into that section, right? So pretty easy to do. And there is, in fact, the rest of it. That's the first article on individuality. Here's the next one. Right, so that's how we go ahead and do that. You will notice that some of the citations that are in here are actually also hot linked if they can be found in this particular database. So your student can actually follow up, or you could follow up on other citations that will give you more information about the item. So other cool things about pulling out of a database, if a student goes ahead and reads a portion of this ebook, they have an easy tool for going after their citation. So since we typically always use APA in psychology, it's sitting right there, and you can tell them that's an easy fix for part of that. If you want to go ahead and share a section, so you have a couple of items here, I could email it to myself. It's going to ask me if I would like the citation in a particular style. You can actually fill out your email address and hit send, and what will end up in your email box is in fact that particular article, right? I'd have to go back to the beginning of the book, and if I want to grab the entire book, I could do this, but I'm in one particular section here, and this is what I would be grabbing. That said, that is an ebook from the Credo collection, which is one of our sub-collections. If you go down here, I just want to show you what another vendor looks like because they don't all look alike. So I might say, let's go ahead and look at Growing Critical Alternatives to Developmental Psychology. This is from a different vendor. So this is from Net Library. So just FYI, once you go out into the wide world of ebooks, there are similarities in terms of how they function, but the screens that you get, the clicks that you have to go through in order to grab them are a little bit different. So this one is in one of our familiar friends, the Ebsco ebook collection. And in anything in an Ebsco ebook collection, full text is generally right over here on your left-hand side. So this is in fact a PDF full text of the item. Yeah. And over here on the right, you've got a couple of more options, including the fun Permalink. So a lot of students actually make the mistake of grabbing the URL out of the browser bar and thinking that that's appropriate for a citation. Occasionally faculty do it. This is what's known as a session ID, and it is unique to the session that I'm currently in or the session that you're currently in, and it will expire. So if a person grabs that link, it will not work after about 10 minutes. If you would like to go ahead and link to this particular ebook, you can use the Permalink feature here, and as I click on it, a new portion of my screen pops up. And this, in fact, is a live link that you can use and put anywhere, and that anyone with a BRCC credential, aka an L number and password PIN, will go ahead and be able to get to. So this functions, you can put it anywhere basically. You don't have to password protect it, although I would advise adding it to your Canvas course, and it can be dropped in almost anywhere and function perfectly. Because students have to go ahead and jump through the library's proxy server in order to get to this item, it is in fact already password protected. So this link goes to the entire book, right? However, if I come on over here to the PDF of the full text and I can view the item as it is, we'll be able to see the table of contents. All of that is always shown over there on your left-hand side, as well as a page image of the item itself. So if I come down here, I'm going to click on that title and it should give me the rest of it here. And now we can see the contents list displayed over here on the left. Again, as I mouse over them, you can see that they're hot linked. And if I click on any particular item, it will jump me into that chapter. So here I am leaping into chapter 4 on the text. Near the bottom of your screen, you see these right and left arrows and a page number. So this is how you or a student would go ahead and turn pages in the item. There is, of course, the citation feature, which is much loved by students and will help you out. So here's our fun APA 7th edition. So nowadays, 7th APA 7 has been added, as well as MLA 8 in the Ebsco database. Oops. Let's get that back up. So as I jump into our particular text, I'll go back to chapter 4. And again, you can see any parts and pieces. All data tables will be displayed. All illustrations will be displayed, usually in color. If I would like to permalink either to the book, I would go up to the contents page and go to that full record page and permalink. If I would like to just, for example, link into chapter 4, if I click on permalink while chapter 4 is showing, this will actually send a student to, see where it says page 47? It will send a student to chapter 4 directly. So one of the fun things about ebooks to know is there's usually a limit of how many pages that can be printed. Since it is a born electronic item, it is meant to be consumed in electronic form. So generally somewhere between 60 and 100 pages are permissible to print. If a student inadvertently tries to print more than that, they will not be able to. It will stop. If they repeatedly try to do it, they might actually end up, the library might get an email saying one of your users is misusing a book. You need to contact them and ask them to cease and desist on that. So these are meant to be consumed in e-form. Just bear that in mind. And this is how we permalink out. Again, this link is suitable for adding anywhere in your Canvas, whether it's in your materials or text section, or linking it through any part of an assignment. It will work beautifully anywhere as long as the student has that L number and PIN in order to access it. If you happen to have any questions or trouble with your permalinks, feel free to contact me, Johanna White at whitej2@mybrcc.edu. I am happy to help, and that concludes today's presentation. Thank you.